So hello, everybody. I'm Melinda Esty. I work with the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and I am delighted to moderate the session this afternoon. We have two great presentations regarding recovery and moving forward. And I'll ask that if you have questions, please capture those, and then we will address those in between each presentation. So to get us started, I'd like to introduce you to Jim Wright. And Jim is a partner and senior strategic marketing planner. Hold on, my screen's jumping away here, sorry. For Pulsar Advertising, where he has led development of brands and strategic marketing plans for dozens of transit and transportation agencies. Jim brings more than 25 years of senior advertising marketing, social, digital, mobile, PR branding, and market research experience to Pulsar, with an emphasis on transit, TDM, and transportation clients that require citizen business behavior change. Jim has worked with 5 of the 10 largest commuter rail systems, as well as leading some of the transit TDM agencies across the US, including New York MTA, Portland TriMet, Austin Cat Metro, Foothill Transit, BART, MARTA, Arlington County's Car Free Diet, WMATA's Metro Way, DC Circulator, Amtrak Virginia, and Virginia Railway Express. Very great credentials, and we're excited to have you, Jim. Thank you. I will also briefly introduce our newest member of the Office of Transit and Active Transportation, Lisa Radens. She's of LJR Transportation Consultants, has more than 30 years of experience working directly with local, regional, and statewide transit systems, cities, counties, MnDOT, universities, state agencies, major employers, and safety organizations to plan and provide safe mobility and access for all. Ms. Radden's focus is on the delivery of efficient and effective transportation services and the implementation of shared mobility and technology programs to achieve these results. Ms. Radden's was hired by the University of Minnesota to design and implement the award-winning University of Minnesota Unlimited Transit Ride program, known as UPass, which resulted in more than 38,000 passes sold within its first semester on the Twin Cities campus, and has been responsible for implementing numerous other travel demand management programs at local agency, major employer, and hospital locations, including the Minnesota Department of Human Services headquarters, Abbott Northwestern Hospital in Minneapolis, Best Buy Corporation in Richfield, and North Memorial Hospital in Robbinsdale. As you can see, we have a wide breadth of expertise here, and so I welcome you all to join us as we learn this afternoon. So thank you, Jim. Please take it away.
Great. Thanks, Melinda. I really want to thank you for the opportunity to talk about something I'm passionate about, which is marketing and communications, but especially these days in the context of recovery and moving forward. We absolutely want to get our riders back on the bus. In my career, everyone loves advertising and marketing, right? Because we all experience it all the time, even more these days in our quarantined environment. And to dabble in it is fun. I mean, our clients love the opportunity to do the work that we participate in.
So, just hold on a second.
As Melinda said, a little bit of commercial here. I am with Pulsar Advertising. It's my job to figure out exactly how to reach our riders and potential riders with our marketing messages. One of the things I'm most proud of in working with Pulsar is our dedication to doing a world of good. For us, it's not just a tagline or a brand positioning, it's really a yardstick, which we measure ourselves against.
So we're going to get started, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, both people who are joining us via Zoom and the folks in the room here today. This session
like Margaret's
is transit funding, and we're going to focus more
speaker
on
is beating in on us. I'll see if I can.
The federal level, which we covered this morning. And so, of course, that will be a really big issue in 2021. So we have some great.
You gotta love technology.
Hey, Jim, you can continue.
Okay, thank you so much. As I was saying, our world of good, doing a world of good is a yardstick that we use to measure ourselves as well as work with our clients to achieve every day. We have 8 offices across the U.S. with more in the planning stage. As Melinda said, we've done a lot of work, and I'm really pleased with not just the work we've done for the largest transportation agency in North America, which is the MTA, but also some of the smallest. BT, which is Blacksburg Transit in rural Virginia, and many others. We just really appreciate the opportunity to work with a wide range of systems and agencies. We are a 28-year-old advertising and marketing agency that specializes in branding, advertising, marketing, PR, earned media relations, social, digital, mobile, media planning and buying, and market research. And we do it across transit, TDM, and transportation agencies all across the U.S. So enough of the commercial. We're done with that. So good. So what I wanted to do is start out by talking a little bit about what some of our one of our competitors has been doing. So let's check out this this video from Uber. And that's what we asked our customers to do, right? It's not ride with us for a period of time. And, you know, just restarting the routes and frequencies of our transit services doesn't re-engage or reestablish the relationships with our lost customers. It requires communications and marketing and reestablishing that inherent trust and relationship between our transit system and our customers. And it has to happen, unfortunately, one at a time. So let's face it, most transit systems, as well as most business owners, are simply overwhelmed with taking care of our employees, ensuring we have enough staffing and supplies, as well as the actions required for safety-related issues. In order to flatten the curve, transit agencies had to disconnect from their customers and the community. This was necessary to protect our customers, our employees, and the community we serve from spreading COVID-19. But in order to achieve real recovery, transit agencies need to do more than just restart routes. But we have to actively reestablish and restore our relationship, our connection to our customers, potential new customers, as well as employers and stakeholders. Unfortunately, having worked in this industry for a fairly long period of time, I know that there's a belief out there that if we build it or we operate it, they will come. Perhaps this has always been the case with Transit Reliant, but in today's environment, proactive communications, marketing, and even a campaign is going to be necessary. You know, back in the good old days, we knew what motivated commuters or travelers to think about changing how they got to work or how to get around. And it was based on, you know, saving money, saving time, and in large, dense urban markets, time actually was number one, reducing stress, found time, and in a distant fifth was improving the environment. We identified 5 life events that can trigger a reassessment of how commuters get to work. The life events were if someone was changing jobs, moving, having a family event like getting married or having a baby or an adoption, if there was major construction on the road I take to work every day, or I was having major or frequent repairs for my aging car. Any of these would be a good trigger for us to have an interaction or a conversation with them about, hey, have you tried taking the bus? But today we have a new rider paradigm, one that balances that habit of how they commuted before COVID-19 with the new health-related fears. On the one hand, we have our pre-existing habit of commuting to work that was driven by value and speed, efficiency, stress, the environment, but really a habit, right? When people get up in the morning, we don't think about how we're going to go to work. We just do it. We do it the same way we've always done it. But now we have to balance that habit against the fear of me getting sick or potentially me getting someone else sick. Many believe that this new paradigm, as we move towards the new normal, will drive people to commuting in their single occupancy vehicles even more, just simply out of fear. This also could contribute to all new levels of congestion as we get closer to full employment. Interestingly, NRIX reported that as of June 20th, personal travel increased to 88% of normal, and fleet travel has improved to 98% of normal. That's obviously going to vary state to state and community to community. But in addition to increased SOV use, many employers are going to take advantage of expanding telework by utilizing lessons that they've learned through this COVID experience. Before we head into some of the best practices and some of the other things I want to share, I just want to take a second and talk about a brand and how does a brand affect growing our ridership. Well, every agency and system has a brand. Sometimes, though, for us to think about a brand, it's best to think about that from a personal perspective. Whether we think about it or not, let's face it, we think about it a little bit more when we're trying to find a new job, right? And this is my lovely photo from our Pulsar website. And honestly, not my favorite personal brand. But there are always other options, right? Not sure those are quite right either, although probably closer to who I am at my core. And when we're developing or refreshing a transit agency's brand, what we're looking to do is get that very core, that very center of who they are. Because a brand is more than just a logo. It's more than a bus fleet. It's more than a website. I'll give you an example. We were working with the state Department of Transportation, and we did a customer satisfaction survey, not unusual. As a part of that, we asked the customers if they had experienced the state DOT brand in the last year. Surprisingly, 95% said they had. That created a whole new threshold for the brand. This is a typical state DOT, so they don't have a retail operation where people are coming in to visit or customers are coming in. So that meant that every citizen who visited a rest area or saw a snowplow or a road construction project where 3 or 4 supervisors were watching one worker do the job, or a safety service vehicle, or even visited their website, they considered that an experience with the state DOT brand. But let's get back to my personal brand, at the core of who I am. I'm a great writer. Some say I'm sarcastic. Most everyone says I'm very direct in my communications, and I think I have a good sense of humor. But when I'm talking to my business partner, Alberto, who's a creative, by the way, I really have to adapt my communication style. And of course, when I'm talking to my 5-year-old granddaughter, I had to slip that one in, I have to adjust how I communicate to her, because I have to eliminate every curse word because she absorbs and repeats everything, right? And to the extent it's possible to talk to your dentist when he's coming at you with a power tool in his hand, I have to adapt how I communicate with him. But at the core, I'm still the same person. And that's what each transit agency should seek to identify. It can't just be your logo or your mission or your vision statement or your 2030 plan. It's everything you are and aspire to be as a transit service. So why is this even important? Because, like it or not, good or bad, your brand is established and has a brand position in the marketplace. The good news is that more citizens today consider transit an essential service than before COVID, right? But each transit agency should think about their brand like a savings account. Each time your customer has a good or a great experience with the brand, you're making a positive deposit into that brand equity account. And sadly, each time they have a bad or a disappointing experience with the brand, there's that corresponding withdrawal. But over time, we want all those good experiences to outweigh, to be greater than the sum of the disappointments that they've experienced. Now, you want to know the really scary part? As a marketer, I've always thought Gen Ys were really challenging to market to. I mean, you know, if it doesn't happen on this, right, you just don't communicate with them. But Gen Zs have a whole new standard for our brands. Gen Zs will gravitate towards brands based on market research we've conducted that react and enhance their experiences over time, even every time. So imagine the DVS or the Minnesota Department of Revenue improving their experiences with their customer every time. Well, for that matter, how can we make our every bus trip better every time? Many times our operators do that by making people welcome and making them feel a part of the trip. But that's our challenge when it comes to Gen Zs. I know this is a bit of an eye chart. I apologize for that. It'll be in the PDF that we send out for you to have, but it's an experience, it's a customer experience map. We developed this for one of our transit clients, and I encourage you all to think about developing one for your agency. You'll be amazed at all the customer touch points that exist between, you know, from planning to purchasing to traveling to evaluating, and ultimately we want them to be an ambassador. We want them on our social channels. We want them in the community telling their friends and neighbors, hey, this is a great opportunity. It's a great service. And of course, you know, we all have trolls that unfortunately we have to deal with from time to time, and some of them become that. So I love market research. It makes my job as a strategic marketing planner and our creatives' jobs much easier and much more likely to hit the mark and, frankly, achieve our goals. Recently, APTA conducted some market research about kind of life in this COVID era. I'm going to share some of it with you. So the major reason that people haven't come back to transit is because the places they want to go haven't been open. Work, schools, healthcare, shopping, they've all been closed. Yes, a close second is the issue of safety. We can't ignore that for sure. But some of our riders will return when the destinations they want to go to are reopened. So that's great news, right? For those of you who haven't seen the New York MTA's series of videos about reopening, I encourage you to check it out. It's on their website. Riders found these kinds of positive messages appealing, compelling, and frankly, and perhaps most importantly, believable. Plus, there was new and surprising information that helped them feel better about riding public transit. Riders found innovations compelling, especially around the idea of contactless payments, empowering riders by helping them to take ownership of their own safety, showing concern for rider safety and showing that the agency wants passengers to be safe, of course. Live updates are crucial, and expressing that the transit agency is doing everything to make riders feel safe. The sad truth is that riders want to know how the safety measures are going to be enforced. They can't just rely on encouragement. And, you know, truthfully, much of these items are a microcosm of our nation's challenges. And they're not unique to transit, and they're not unique to Minnesota. Requiring masks and providing masks isn't good enough if it's not enforced. And some agencies have real-time apps that we have all seen these, where they announce when the buses will arrive, and customers have doubted the validity of that functionality. We need to do more than just encourage social distancing, like with masks. It needs to be enforced. And finally, it should be a shared responsibility between the transit agency and the riders. Now, there's good news and bad news. So I'll start with the bad news. As we've experienced, there haven't been a lot of riders trying transit. The good news is, for those that have, it's been a positive experience. In fact, 65% said that have tried it said it was a positive experience. So I have a few examples I'd like to show you of the best practices from across the country. And I know when I do this, I've done this a few times now. It's inevitable that I'm highlighting some folks and I'm leaving some folks out. So I apologize if your agency is not in the practice. I just, you can only so much in the amount of time we have. And I know many of you are doing many of these examples, but as with most of these webinars and conferences, I hope there's something in here that will, pique an interest and will trigger an idea for you. So it's not sufficient to say we're cleaning our buses and all contact services. We really do have to show them the new form of show and tell, right? I urge you to show your real people doing the real work. We all have probably one of the most sophisticated photo systems in our hands. The quality of those photos are as good as most professional cameras now. I urge you, you can do a quick photo shoot that doesn't have to be professionally done to get some visual assets, especially for your social to help tell the story. Like MBTA, they announced they were cleaning the high contact service areas 6 times a day, and then they showed them doing that. BART is doing similar 8 times a day, and CTA and SEPTA are doing similar cleaning efforts and have images and videos to show that. Transit agencies have always been great community partners, and the COVID-19 pandemic has given transit systems even greater opportunities to demonstrate the essential community partners our transit agencies are. Some, like Metro Mobility, have adapted their service to deliver food or supplies to those who can't get out. Virtually all of you have focused on delivering essential workers, and COVID-19 has caused many transit systems to reevaluate or reimagine their purpose in order to continue to serve the community. And as we continue to transform our transit agencies to the new normal, it's even more important than ever to view employers as our partners, in particular, our larger employers. By using our connections, our network, our intelligence to find out what our business partners plan to do. That should drive planning for the transit system. What good does it do to have that express route service to that large employer campus if they've suddenly made the business decision they want to do a majority of their employees teleworking for an ongoing business operations model? My suggestion, and if I recognize if time and resources allow, is to call our larger employer partners or our employer transportation champions if we have those. If not, then an email or an old-fashioned snail mail letter, perhaps to invite them to a business community seminar, webinar, or to complete a short survey. The key is to engage them in order to get some information from them about their recovery plans and how you can better serve their employees. So here's some ongoing examples. This is Arlington County, Virginia. They are a community transit system that serves the neighborhoods and feeds into the larger DC Metro system, largely Metro Rail, their subway system. They developed a nice short video that covers a wide area of cleaning in response to COVID-19. So let me just show you a short snippet of this.
At Arlington Transit, safety is our highest priority. We have increased vehicle cleaning and put additional procedures in place to keep passengers and operators safe and to help slow the spread of the coronavirus. ART buses are deep cleaned at the end of each day using approved disinfectants to wipe down all poles, handrails, passenger seats, windows, and all components in the driver's area.
So one of the things I want to say about that is it's way too long. So shorter is better. 15 to 30 seconds, especially for social, is a great length of time to be able to capture people's attention and keep it. Foothill Transit, like we've seen at all the retail stores, Foothill Transit is using ambient signage at bus stops and on board to help give their customers some physical cues about social distancing. I think that's very helpful for people to understand exactly where the 6 feet is. Metro Transit is sharing both real and animated videos talking about sanitizing efforts, masks, smaller buses, employee health checks, and contactless fare payment. And the University of Minnesota transit system is putting up posters talking about the mask requirements They're using ambient stickers to reinforce that social distancing and barriers to enforce the social distancing on board. Metro Mobility, as I mentioned, has provided free rides for employees to a healthcare facility, and they're delivering groceries to customers at their homes. Chicago Metro, which is a commuter rail system in Chicago, is as Chicago has started a reopening, Metro is emphasizing transparency, not by just saying they're sanitizing their trains, but actually, again, showing them on social media and their website. And in addition, they've actually started a campaign that reinforces that message with advertising, marketing, and social digital communications. And I like this approach. It will not only rebuild trust with their customers, but it'll attract those customers as they're sitting in traffic and remind them as they're in stop and go traffic, especially in Chicago, with that reassuring message that Metro is ready, it's available, and it's safe. And then they took it to the next level and they asked their customers to share how they think they're doing. I think that's always a scary question, but one that needs to be asked, and to let other customers know how they think they're doing as well. Transparency also transfers control to customers, and ultimately that's what we want as customers, is control. Metrolink has put social distancing in the hands of its customers through an online tool. How full is my train? Giving the customer choice and control is really, again, what they want and expect. The New York MTA went through a period where the mayor actually said, don't ride the subways and buses, don't ride them. And always a reinforcing message, right? But as New York City is phasing into full reopening, MTA is showing how they're cleaning and sanitizing trains, buses, and stations. And I like this idea that they're using new technology. Not something everybody can afford, but they're sharing with their customers how they're using UV light to kill the COVID-19 germs. RTD in Denver is doing a nice job, I think, of taking that combination, and I saw many of you are as well, of mixing graphics with actual visuals of their employees doing the cleaning and sanitizing. And then they're also engaging their customers in what's next. What priorities should be addressed as the COVID-19 recovery evolves and even beyond. And I like this in particular because it helps us get past that initial anxiety about, are we ever going to get back to something that even remotely resembles normal? Incentivizing travel. I know many, if not all of you, experienced some fare suspension during the pandemic. I know probably most of you are back to fare collection now. But I can tell you over the past 25 years in working with transit systems, we've learned that the best way to build ridership is to get people on the buses, to get them to try it. Getting them to try bus, light rail, commuter rail is the best way to acquire and reacquire riders. Often you have to convince leadership to give up free rides, and that's never an easy task. But now is this window of opportunity perhaps to get riders to try your service perhaps for free. And I have to tell you that word, free, is the most powerful word in advertising. Even in the face of the pandemic, don't be afraid to capitalize on a free fare period to build trial. It doesn't have to be system-wide. It could be for a particular line or a particular corridor that has capacity and potential latent demand. Invite families to go on an excursion on the weekend when the system is less crowded. It could be a great way to see if it works for them for their commute. And finally, one of the examples we have here is new movers. It's a great potential source for new riders. As I said earlier, moving is one of those 5 triggers to reassess mode choice. And if anything's happening, lots of real estate transactions are happening these days, right? People are moving a lot. We've done this for several transit agencies, and we've gotten between 12 and 15% response rates, which I have to tell you in direct mail, that's insanely great. If you talk to most marketers, anything above 1.5% to 2% is exceptional. And we then followed up with those folks, and as many as 65% of the people who got the free tickets actually used them, which means that it wasn't just about getting free tickets. They actually tried them. We got them on the bus. We got them on the train. In many of our communities in Minnesota, the transit agencies are a very large employer, as well as a high-profile community partner. So use that community position to invite a reporter to ride along. You can provide B-roll or high-res photos. The sad fact of the matter is that many news outlets do not have adequate resources. They've cut back themselves over the course of the years. There's often not a beat reporter exclusively for transportation anymore. So make their job easy. Write the story for them, complete with photos and quotes. And if you deliver it to them, you'll be surprised to see how many of your words and photos show up in the article. Social and digital, so popular with all of our clients. I know many of you are doing this exceptionally well, and there, isn't a client we work with that we're not spending some money on social and digital content. But just because you push out a tweet, or you post a photo, or you put a video on Instagram or Facebook, even those who follow you may not see it. So I would encourage you to invest a few dollars. It doesn't take a lot, to promote your post. Find the post that you think will really have traction, particularly something with video generally. And it's a really highly efficient way, because you can geo-target those ads to your particular demographic area, or your geographic area, and you can demo target the audience. So if you want to reach a particular, a younger audience or a midlife audience in terms of workers, you can do that, meaning you can reach specific corridors and routes and demographics. So that's all the examples I have for today, but I want to end this with a look back at a video of our competitor as they begin this process of coming out of COVID. It's interesting. I love that. Dell, I like Uber. They do a really great job in terms of marketing. So with that, I thank you all very much.
Thank you, Jim. So we do have one question submitted, and I would encourage everybody else, go ahead and put those in electronically as well. The question we have is from Kirby Becker. He says, well, it's very poignant because it's right along with your Uber commercial. Cleaning and disinfecting is all great, but what are transit systems doing now or going to do when customers refuse to wear masks when boarding a bus? Cleaning is only one effort. If someone refuses to wear masks while riding, do they deny rides? Non-mask wearing riders could be infecting other passengers, which undermines the cleaning protocol. I see this every day in retail stores when customers enter stores without masks and there's no enforcement. How do you overcome people not wanting to ride because of this specific issue?
Enforcement's a tough question. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's easy. And I've seen some transit systems address it the same way they address fare evasion, which is, I'm not going to ask my operators to deal with it. One, they're protected because of plexiglass around their position and aren't really in a position to enforce it. Because of a variety of labor agreements or other reasons, they aren't allowed to be able to ask them to enforce it. But I agree with the person asking the question. It is extremely challenging, and I think it is different from fare evasion because now we're talking about a public health question. We're not talking about just not paying for the ride. I know some systems have gone to having ambassadors on board to try to help with the enforcement, but there's no easy answer to that question, and there's no one size fits all.
Thank you for that. No. We were hoping we could lock you into.
Wish I had the golden ticket for you.
And you have another question. Jeremy Monahan asks, if a system is in the midst of a campaign to get people back on the bus and suddenly the community experiences an outbreak, including possibly transit workers, is there a strategy to deal with a situation like that?
Yes, and that is it's really an excellent question because you really do need to have those contingencies planned for. We're working with a a county in California, we specifically on COVID communications. And when their schools, when they went back into schools, we said, look, we know it's going to happen. You have to plan for it, have an emergency communications plan in place, talk with your media outlets and say, look, we need to suspend the buy. We'll pick it up. We'll pick it up in a couple of weeks or a month when the situation is different. But we can't be out there promoting people to get back on board when it's perceived as not being safe. So you don't want to waste your money, your media dollars at that point. But I think having a strong crisis communications plan, both from earned media, social, and paid, is essential before striving for any kind of rebuilding ridership program, because it's going to happen, unfortunately.
Great advice. Thank you so much. There aren't any other questions. There's a comment from Christy Selwood indicating, thank you, Jim. You did a fantastic job with this presentation. And I would echo that as well. We really appreciate your insights today. Thank you. There's no more questions, and I don't see any more at the moment. And I believe Jim will be staying on with us at the end of Lisa's presentation as well, in case there's any additional questions for him. So thank you again, Jim. We'll turn it over to Lisa.
Hi, can you see me, everybody? No, you can hear me.
We can hear you and we can see your presentation.
Let me go backwards here, and I am going to just do it without video. I think I'm having a little trouble. So thank you for the opportunity to come to you today virtually. I wish I was in Rochester with you. I think it's a beautiful time of the year to be down there. It's a beautiful day today, and I hope you're all enjoying that. So thanks for this chance to talk a little bit about a marketing project that we did recently with Southwest Transit in the Twin Cities. And Jim did an excellent job with his presentation. He certainly touched on a number of points that we went through with Southwest's recent promotion. I'd like to just share with you some of that. So for those of you who don't know anything about Southwest Transit is a provider of public transit services in 4 areas of the southwestern part of the Twin Cities. And that's Carver County, Chaska, Chanhassen, and Eden Prairie, to be specific. Southwest was one of a number of opt-out systems that were approved to form in 1986 by the Minnesota State Legislature. And since that time, Southwest system has been growing. They've been adding new services. They provide both express service to downtown Minneapolis and the University of Minnesota campus in the Twin Cities, as well as demand responsive services within their 4 service areas, and also from their local communities to other local regional destinations nearby. So they're comprised of a 7-member commission that makes most of the management and administrative decisions. That includes 1 elected official and 1 appointed citizen from each community, as well as a ridership representative. The staff at Southwest is headed up by Len Simich, the CEO, plus there's a number of drivers, maintenance staff, office staff, accounting. They have a wide variety of services they provide. They have just completed the remodeling of a garage maintenance facility in Eden Prairie to include their administrative staff. It's just beautiful, and I have a picture and I'll show you in a minute. And they also have 5 park and ride locations scattered through their communities that are their big capital facilities with places for people to wait and for parking cars. Their fleet consists of 63 coaches and 24 demand responsive vehicles, which are known as Southwest Prime. So as I said, services on Southwest include the express buses They also provide local routes to the Best Buy headquarters off of 494 and 35W in Richfield, the Normandale Community College, and the Southdale Mall in Edina. And in 2021, they plan on providing service directly to the Mall of America, MSP Airport, and the city of Shakopee. Their Prime, Southwest Prime service provides demand responsive trips door to door throughout the service delivery area. They also provide some contracted bus service to Carver and the city of Victoria. And they also began a new service last year in 2019 in partnership with some local health organizations called Prime MD, which provides non-emergency medical service to local hospitals, clinics, and agencies. So as I mentioned, there were 5 park and ride locations that Southwest Transit has under its system. Those are shown here. There's one in Eden Prairie, one in Chaska, 2 in Chanhassen, and then 1 in Carver County. They have also the newly remodeled administrative building that used to be located at what is now the terminus point of the new Southwest LRT system. They needed to move their administrative staff, so they've added on to their bus garage and maintenance facility in the past year. And that's also located in Eden Prairie. So you can see in this picture on the left is the newly remodeled administrative building. It also contains indoor parking facilities for many of the buses in the fleet, the coach buses, and it also has maintenance facilities with mechanics. Administrative staff are on the top level. It's really quite nice, has very nice amenities for staff and for visitors and for those who work there. On the right side, you'll see a picture of the East Creek Transit Station, which is located in Chaska, and that's one of the 5 park and ride facilities that Southwest operates. So like every other transit system across the country, there's been massive changes to ridership in Southwest service area. In 2019, there were almost 1 million express riders. In 2019, they also had over 100,000 demand responsive riders on the Prime service. But since earlier this year when COVID hit, the express passengers are down 90 to 95%, which makes a lot of sense considering there's many employers in downtown Minneapolis who are allowing a remote working environment and who are not operating downtown at this time. They've also experienced an 80% reduction of Prime passengers in the local dial ride service or the demand response service. As of September, however, they've seen an increase and they're starting to build again in that local service, which is welcome. And so they're down about half at this point rather than 80% as they were early on. So one of the priorities during the pandemic for Southwest, like every other system, was to reassure riders that the system was doing all it could to keep their vehicles, the passengers and drivers safe and in a clean environment. And Jim spoke to that eloquently. They needed to make sure that riders knew it was okay to come back and that they had prepared staff, that their vehicles are cleaned throughout the day, that they have masks, everybody's wearing a mask, and that staff is there to help them. As part of that, they wanted to continue to provide excellent customer service. So they were reaching out and have been reaching out to passengers in many different ways, both through social media, as well as making sure that they were doing local deliveries to help with food deliveries and other things that the community might need. And they want to keep the Southwest name and reputation out there for the communities that they serve and for passengers so that they don't forget them and they know they're there and ready for service when passengers decide they want to come back. So as we started looking at what could be done this fall for promotion to touch base with passengers and customers and really focus on the customers that might be able to get back on the system earlier, some rather than others. We decided to look at several things. One is to take a look at customers that would likely be returning in the post-pandemic world. And given that downtown central business districts may not be the first place that people come back to when we get back to a more normal environment, the decision was made that we would focus more on the local trips, the demand responsive areas within the community, and to try to introduce and reintroduce the prime service that Southwest offers to people in those areas, and in particular, riders of choice. There are riders of necessity who will always be there and understand that system. But for other passengers, there might be some that are afraid to use a service, have never used it before, and people that would likely need to be persuaded to try the bus. As Jim said, it never hurts to get people to try your system and to do that in a creative way. So we identified rider concerns and wanted to think about how to provide timely information as to what the system is doing today. We certainly wanted to address the personal safety and cleanliness concerns of riders. We wanted to think about what items might be useful for isolated customers during this time. We know that different age groups and different customers have different needs. We wanted to take a look at what we might be able to contribute in that area to send a cheer message back to passengers and to really get them something that might be useful. We wanted to keep it a consistent, upbeat, and seasonal message and theme. And we wanted to provide an attractive, value-added, and ultimately cost-effective set of incentives to get riders to pay attention to our system and get back on the bus. So what we decided is to focus on riders who would use the local services. We went through ridership information, pickup and destination information from the local route and demand responsive areas to just determine the best areas of the system where we could focus our promotional efforts. We ensured that parity existed by spreading the promotion among riders in each of the three main Southwest service areas, which is Chaska, Chanhassen, and Eden Prairie. And we developed a theme and identified potential promotional items and potential partners and sponsors who could work with us. So our theme, we decided, would be something about coming back to us in the fall or falling back on Southwest. So we decided to contact managers of senior active living locations to ask if the promotion would be of benefit and welcome to residents and tenants in their areas. We did get a great response by those facility managers, and they indicated they would work with us to help us get the promotion out to the residents. We also worked with local senior community coordinators to better understand needs and interests at this time for seniors in those areas. We obtained an estimate of the number of promotional items we would need to distribute by speaking with these entities. We identified which items Southwest might be able to provide as a value incentive in a promotion. And then we also looked at who we could partner with and where we could go to ask local businesses to help provide some items or information or goods to our riders as a way to help them get through this time, and also to think about coming back on the bus and to promote, healthy riding on our bus system. So part of that included developing a reasonable timeline in advance and an estimated delivery date to provide sufficient procurement time for our partners to be able to get us some items that we could then help and put together into a promotional bag for our riders. So our staff set a target of October 1st to stuff and deliver what we called fall swag bags, about 250 cloth reusable bags to 4 locations with the permission of those facility managers. We identified numerous promotional items that Southwest could contribute to directly, which they already had on hand and available because they've been unable to market to new riders or employers during the pandemic. So a number of the items that they already had on hand were things that they typically would hand out at those events. And we also added face masks and hand sanitizer to that group. We contacted and obtained donations from a variety of local and regional sponsors, especially local grocery stores, small businesses. And because it's fall, we talked to nurseries and orchards because of the fall theme, apples, pumpkins, gourds, things that might be fitting of that theme. In the end, we were able to put together a very substantial fall gift bag for our potential passengers. And in that bag, you can see a number of great items that were donated by our partners, plus items that we also put into the bag. So in the bag was a gift tag that had a specific fall back on us message with sponsor names and logos. There was a Southwest Transit face mask, and I've heard over the last 2 days a lot of other systems also doing that kind of thing for passengers. There was a personal size container of hand sanitizer with the Southwest Transit logo on it. There were 2 free transit passes and information on how to ride the Southwest system, and in particular, Southwest Prime, demand responsive system. There were the various promotional items that we already had available: chip clips, basting brush, mouse pad, koozie cup, all sorts of things. We did procure some caramel apple dip to go along with some donations from a couple of orchards. We were able to get a number of wonderful items from Kowalski's Markets that were donated: popcorn, flavored sparkling water, large gourmet chocolate bar. Cub Foods, which is a offshoot of Super Value, donated Pringles potato chips and flapjack mix. Lunds and Byerly's was happy to donate Cracker Jack craisins and crackers. And we had 2 different orchards donate a total of 4 bushels of apples for this event, which we then separately bagged up with the caramel dip so that people could enjoy carameled apples. So there's a picture of some of the bags that we put together and decorated in the hallway. As I said, we had about 220 bags that we needed to deliver by October 1st. So it was a big effort to get them all stuffed. And you can see another picture of some of the items that were in that bag on the screen. So here's a picture of what our gift tag looked like. We had some verbiage that talked about how to get back on the bus, how to call us, how to find us online, how we're trying to keep buses clean and safe, and our drivers safe and our staff safe, and then how easy it is to ride and where we can take passengers. And then on the backside of that was the sponsor information along with their logos. So our staff delivered the bags to 4 different locations, and you can see the total here. Again, 1 was in each community, and then we also delivered 40 bags to the Chanhassen Senior Center for 2 events that they have going on for seniors. One will be this month, and the next event will be on Veterans Day, when veterans are able to drive over to the Senior Center and pick up a hot meal on November 11th. We also are providing a bag of goodies for veterans at that time from the local community. So what did this cost, you might want to know? There was obviously staff time involved to identify the customer targets, determine the locations, develop the theme and the messaging, and ultimately to deliver the bags. But that staff time was absorbed as part of normal staff time. Nobody worked overtime on this, so it worked out well. There were promotional items that were added to these bags from Southwest on-hand supplies, as I indicated earlier. They did purchase hand sanitizer and some caramel apple dip to go with some of the other items in the bag. And then there was printing costs for gift tags and labels with a specific message in the sponsor info. But the out-of-pocket promotional cost came to about $900 for 250 bags. We have 30 bags left over, which is a cost of a little over $3 a bag. So the lessons that I think we learned from this effort was that it really is an enjoyable thing to solicit and put together a thoughtful, useful gift for our customers who are facing difficult times. And it really helps bond staff together and provides an exercise of great employee engagement. All of the staff were involved stuffing these bags a week ago, and they really enjoyed doing it and working with each other. And that was enjoyable. The costs for a shared promotional effort are not expensive. We estimate that each of those bags has up to $30 worth of potential value to it just from what was donated. We think that asking partners to donate things that they believe they can do inexpensively and then sharing with that what we have available can really make the bag stand out, and that make it a great gift for people who are receiving these bags. It's very interesting. Donations from the private sector are very generous. Once they understand the reason for what we're doing and the target market, they have been quick to donate and happy to do so. We got very few refusals or people telling us they weren't able to provide something for the bags. We didn't ask them specifically what to provide. We suggested items that were non-perishable, and they picked out what they wanted to do, and it was great because we really didn't have anybody giving us the same thing twice. The key to making the gifts interesting and exciting for people who get them is to have a targeted message and a really nice gift wrapping along with an unexpected delivery. These bags just showed up at their doors. They were distributed by the facilities that they lived in. We didn't go inside and deliver them. The management did, but they put a bag at every door and told us how many units to do, and the senior center will be delivering the bags as well. So people aren't expecting them, and it really makes their day. And finally, it's a great exercise in community building. From people remembering that Southwest put this bag out there, having a bag that has a Southwest logo on it that they can use in the future for shopping or whatever they do. And also having these items that they can use and enjoy, I think really makes it a great effort and something that they won't forget. So with that, I'm just providing some contact information. I help Southwest on this project as a consultant, but there is a full-time marketing person at Southwest. His name is John Hagenmiller, and that's his email. You can contact John if you'd like more info, or you can also contact Len Simich, the CEO at Southwest, and there's his email, or you can contact them through the Southwest website or their phone number. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions or comments, Melinda.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. That was a great example. You did have one question, which I attempted to answer, but I'll prefer that you correct me perhaps. And the question was, what is a basting brush?
A basting brush is the brush that you use to brush on like melted butter or something on a grill, like barbecue sauce with the soft bristles on the end. That's what it is.
Fabulous. I'm not well known in the kitchen, but I got that one right. So, do we have any other questions for either of our presenters? I think there was a lot of information to absorb, but we can take some time here if anybody wants to type them out. I think, I don't know that our presentation is set up to allow people to speak, so you'll need to type it into the Q&A or the chat function. And I'm not seeing any come in. Were there any other thoughts that Jim or Lisa would care to share?
This is Lisa. I can say that I found Jim's presentation to really touch on a number of themes that we were trying to accomplish at Southwest. And Southwest is a smaller system that's probably more suitable. The kinds of things that we undertook were more suitable for smaller systems across Minnesota, systems that know who the local stores are and their neighbors in more detail. And putting an effort together like this could be more easily done on a smaller scale in a smaller system area, is my opinion.
Although, at least I'll tell you, I've done it in metropolitan areas. Sometimes you just ask, and people are, you're right. I mean, I think people right now are pretty generous and willing to be able to provide, especially something for senior citizens. I think that was, and veterans. I mean, that's mom and apple pie. That was awesome. I thought that was terrific. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Oh, we did have a question come in. All right, our system halted advertising in March with leadership not wanting to put any messaging that could be seen to encourage ridership. We haven't really started advertising in any significant way. Is there something you'd consider a trigger point to seeking ridership again? It's a great question. Not sure which of you would want to tackle that one.
Yeah, it's a tough question. I'm not knowing, not knowing where you are, but I think, first of all, I wouldn't, for most systems in Minnesota, it would be my recommendation, absent, large metropolitan areas, you're probably best not to bite off at the entire system, but rather to think about it in the context of, sections of the area and try to focus on particular geographic sections, or we always think about it in the context of corridors, where people are starting to come back. Anything that serves healthcare, that is something that's obviously very active, has come back strong. So you could potentially think about that. You might think about, where are the areas where, like Lisa talked about, how in metropolitan Minneapolis, like many downtown metropolitan areas, it's a ghost town, and but yet people are out and around. How do we tap into some of that and get people to do some trial in the process of that? So I think some of that's just observation and trying to find an opportunity. But I think doing the one thing that I would suggest is, if you do, you can always do promotional promote social posts, or even do small digital banner ads, and it's somewhat a little bit below the radar, as opposed to putting a billboard out there, or doing a newspaper ad or radio or something like that. You might try doing something that's maybe a little more targeted than trying to blast something out.
And I agree with you, Jim, on that. I think that we really wanted to focus towards certain sectors in this promotion, and really focus on people who might be fearful, but who could use a trip even for diversion, not necessarily to a medical facility or an appointment, but even to go down to the park and take a walk, or to do something that was more recreational or more social. And so for that reason, our targeted gift tag really mentioned those kind of trips as part of it. If you just like to try us out to have lunch outside somewhere or do something like this, this is, you know, a perfect way to use your free pass. That's kind of what we told them.
And I think I would just add from what we saw at MnDOT statewide, one of the triggers that seemed to activate a lot of the systems was when the governor's sort of shutdown order was lifted. We saw a lot of people pick up again. And another trigger that we saw was when schools started again, because so many of our rural public transit systems work with preschools for service. And so that picked up ridership again. So I think a lot of our systems are in a position again where they don't have availability. And so, you know, it's really an individual system decision is when you want to encourage that ridership. And I think also from a state accountability perspective, we're still not pushing for high numbers of ridership. We're still supporting the shelter in place as much as possible. I'm hoping that people are being responsible in their decisions for travel, of course, while balancing the needs of supporting the economy. So, sorry, we're still in a very gray area, but individual leadership will have to come up with those answers. Other questions? Nothing else has come in. So I would say thank you to both of our presenters. Thank you to all of our participants. We hope you enjoyed this and learned quite a bit that you can take into your systems for future opportunities. And I would say have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks.
Thanks all.
Bye-bye.